Has this ever happened to you? You're at a new LGS, you're visiting from out of town, or your usual LGS is just closed today. Or maybe you're at your LGS, but your typical pod isn't there. In either situation, you're playing with new people you probably haven't played with before. So you decide to choose a regular old deck that won't do anything crazy or do anything, and you completely stomp the table. Dang, didn't mean for that to happen. Okay, let's go a bit further down in power level, and once again the table gets dusted. Okay, there must be a problem here. I'm playing decks that to me feel underpowered, but to this table they seem to be a bit too much to handle. Against my normal play group, I would have lost every single game if I played these decks. This is where we have a problem. Our views on power levels are all completely different. This is a video about how the play group that you play in can determine how you see the game of Magic and skews your preferences and beliefs about the game itself. As people, our environments have an insane amount of control on both our thinking and our actions. Deeply held beliefs you might have in a large city would be completely different from those in the next state over, the next city over, or even the next town over. In New York, $100,000 probably seems like a standard middle-class life, while in Kansas, you would be absolutely rich. With these facts being what they are, people form opinions and beliefs and thought processes that are somehow both correct and incorrect at the same time. Let's go back to that $100,000 now. Someone living in Kansas would say, wow, that is a lot of money. And this is correct. $100,000 is a lot of money, but it is also, from the New Yorker's perspective, incorrect. The difference here, of course, is the context around the dollar amount and what that dollar amount truly means. Now, let's head back to Commander, the topic we all know a lot about. If you're anything like me, you probably consume a lot of EDH content on YouTube. There's plenty of new people and interesting channels popping up every single day promoting different ideas and philosophies behind the game of Commander. Sometimes this leads to a lot of discussion about the game within the game. What is considered powerful? What is considered weak? What's too strong for a normal experience or too expensive to be worth it? You'll see many different content creators go in plenty of different directions. This channel especially reflects how I like to play the game. Yes, me, Deck Driver. And I try to make sure I don't say that it's the only way to play. I also have shown what I believe is powerful in EDH and what I don't believe is very powerful in EDH. What I want to speak about in this video is widening our perspectives. For instance, my Queen Marchesa deck is a very powerful deck. I understand this is true because of the results it gets me. In both Strangers pods and my regular pods, it performs well and can win games pretty handedly. However, this is both correct and incorrect at the same time. I could never bring Queen Marchesa to a CEDH table and expect to do well. The stacks pieces are not strong enough, and the only win con is combat damage. And the interaction I have cannot stop combos from occurring. So Marchesa must be weak then, right? No. Against new players or players I've never played against before, I can never be stopped with Queen Marchesa, and I seem to win every single game. Oh, so Marchesa's my strongest deck then? No. Okay, hold on. This is messing with my head too much. Just like in the New York and Kansas scenario, it's all about the context and perspective. So let's look at how I even got here in the first place. When I first started playing Commander, I met these two friends. Let's call them Thing 1 and Thing 2. So Thing 1 and 2 have been playing Commander for quite some time before I started playing. And they played with really strong decks. Decks with a ton of interaction. Decks with the best ramp sources available. Fast and efficient game plans, whether they be combos or heavy hitters. No matter what deck they played, these two were a problem for everyone. So as a new player wanting to keep up with my newfound friends, I had to start adapting. I built stronger and stronger decks by watching them, playing against them, and slowly winning more games. Every time I thought I figured it out, I decided how much more I still needed to learn about expertly building Commander decks. So now, after months and months and months and months of playing against them, my standard of deck quality, what cards are good and what cards are bad, had raised by a lot. The types of decks I built, the style in which I play, and card choices I make for each new deck are completely different than how they might have been if any other scenario had occurred for my Commander upbringing. Your playgroup determines how you choose to interact with the game of Commander. Just like in real life, the development of players into the Magic scene are influenced by those around them. Imagine if your LGS only played CEDH. You would probably look at precons like a scam for how ineffective they are at winning on turn 4 or sooner. Now, imagine the opposite. You would probably find CEDH boring, repetitive, and only for sweats. Who would want to win with the same 2 cards over and over and over again? When playing against strangers, talking about the game of Commander, or making YouTube videos about this very game, this nuance is almost always lost. And I ask now, is it even worth it to care about this nuance? Well, I'd like to say this. Yes, it is. And also, no, it isn't. Wow, what a BS answer, am I right? You are kind of right. But what I'm saying is that there's more to it than just yes or no. I care about the nuance behind it as a content creator and as a player, because I think Magic players should be able to step back and take an objective look at their game and their decks. I make my own power rankings for the decks I own. I make sure I speak clearly to my opponents about what my decks are capable of, and I can read social situations well as to not leave a bad taste in people's mouths when I play the game. However, I think that explaining this nuance every single time leads to a very boring, inauthentic, and almost self-righteous behavior by those who do it. Some decks are very strong. Some decks are very weak. But every deck has its place in Commander, no matter how it's built. Kumbaya. Did I just save Commander? Or did I state the obvious? This channel is here to focus on higher powered gameplay. Doesn't matter about budget, Commander, colors, or anything for that matter. As you all know, I love aggro decks and combo decks, and if I ever step into the realm of control in my deck building, it's often very oppressive and leads into a combo finisher. I like making decks that win, and most of my videos reflect that fact. Hopefully in this video, you can now understand where I'm coming from, and you can probably take a look at your own situation and conclude why you feel the way you do about the words I've spoken today. Whether you agree or disagree with my stance on Commander, the decks I build, or how I play, it is probably because of the way you grew into Magic yourself. Thing 1 and thing 2, the only reason they play the way they do is because they grew up playing against pods that would constantly play the highest power cards and combos available. So of course, they see the game the way they do, which leads into how I see the game the way I do. And there have probably even been some videos that I have made in the past that have changed the way that you, yes you, play the game of Commander and the way you view the game as a whole. All I'm trying to say with this video is that the opinions of those around you, MTG YouTubers, and YouTube comment section should not hold as much weight as they probably do. You have your own experiences and you have your own sense of what Commander is and should be. So when you hear another person state an opinion about the game, understand that there is a ton of history that has led them to saying that thing. Now, I'm not trying to say that every opinion is valid, but having different approaches to a format like Commander is good. Let's go back to my Marchesa deck. I can take a step back and look at the deck itself. I can see how expensive the deck is, the quality of the land base, the quality of each individual card, and how the deck functions as a whole. This is where I make the conclusion that, yes, this deck is more powerful than the majority of Magic the Gathering decks out there. Is it going to be CEDH level? Absolutely not. But could this play at most higher power pods? Yes, and it has played at these pods, and it has done well at these pods. So I can definitively say that this is high power Magic. Now, of course, everyone wants to say whether it's strong or not strong. If I was only a CEDH player and I only cared about the CEDH quality of gameplay, I would say that Marchesa is not a strong deck. How do you win? You're in Mardu, but you don't have any of the Mardu combos. Where's your Dual Caster Mage and Twin Flame combos? Where's the Saw in Half combos? This deck is actually weak, except it's not. And as a Magic the Gathering player, you can find these opinions and you can form these more objective looks when you just take a step back and use some perspective. But before I turn into a meme of myself by sounding super self-righteous, I hope you all have gained a little bit from this video, and I'll see you guys all next time. If you guys have enjoyed this video, please consider liking the video and please consider subscribing to the channel. As a Magic the Gathering content creator, I really want to find ways to stand out amongst the rest of the crowd that is here. And so I like to give special content out there that really tries to provoke some things within the Magic community as a whole. If you like these opinions, or if you'd like to join the community that also feels this way, please consider donating to the Patreon. With just a few bucks a month, you can get access to our Discord, where I like to host events and little challenges here and there. There's plenty of different tiers to choose from, so please consider checking it out. I'd like to thank my patrons now. Thank you to Red Toter, Thalassocrat, George Vazanelis, Philly123, Chris Smith, Son of Zygote, Ruby Storm, Raphael DDL, Hyeo, Justin, Peachy Star, Zedok, Aaron Fisher, Abrax, Pedro de Oliveira, Rylan West, and Hooplight. Thank you all so much for your continued support, and I hope to see the rest of y'all there. Have a great rest of your day.